In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your bellow boot on your Mini Cooper. It's located on the inner tie rod underneath. Using a 17mm socket, we're going to remove our wheel. Let's remove our wheel. First thing you want to do is make sure your jam nut's free. Crack that loose. After you free this up, we're going to remove this nut and take it out of the knuckle. Using a 15mm socket, we're going to remove this nut. Remove your nut. Now you want to give this a whack right here, and it should come out like that. Loosen your jam nut until you can get this locking sleeve out of your way. And just push down on that. You want this loose enough so the outer tie rod can spin off. And spin that off. We're going to use a 20mm wrench. So now we're going to count how many turns it takes to take this outer tie rod out. It's helpful if you mark it and you can see a full rotation. You don't have to though. I'm using a 13mm on my inner tie rod because it's spinning with the outer tie rod. So there's a little place here you can put a wrench. I'm bracing it up against the sway bar link bar. So when I turn it, it just hits that and I don't have to hold both. So that's one turn, and this is going to be a slow-moving process, but just keep spinning it till it's all the way off. And count as you go, a full rotation. That's 2, 19, 20. About 20 turns. So I'm going to make that note. I usually write it somewhere on the car. We're going to take this off now, the jam nut. Get it out of the way so we can get our boot off. And now we're going to break free this clamp on our boot. To do that, you're going to use needle noses or a screwdriver, something to get in there and break it off. We're going to replace it with a zip tie. You can usually just twist it off. And pull it. Now we're going to remove this clamp. I'm going to use a long, skinny screwdriver, and I'm just going to break free this clamp. Remove your clamp. I'm going to add a little silicone paste here so that it slips off a little easier. Pull it forward and take it off. Make sure you put some grease here so that when you're getting an alignment and you need adjustment, the boot doesn't stick to the inner tie rod. Now we're going to slide our boot on. I'm going to slide the boot on and put it on the rack. Slide it over. There's a little spot for it. And now we're going to put our zip tie on. I have it started already. It's easier to get it started before than trying to do it after. Once you're in the right position, you want it between the lip and the first ripple of the boot, and you're just going to tighten it down. Make sure it's tight enough to stay. You don't want that falling off. If it falls off, then dirt gets in there and then it ruins your situation in there. Cut the excess off. I'm using some wire cutters to do that. Now for this end, make sure that you slide this down in between these two grooves on the inner tie rod. And that's where the inner tie rod is going to allow the boot to swivel. Make sure your boot is between those two grooves, and then you're going to put your zip tie down. And when you're adjusting your alignment, this boot stays still and this can move. So don't over tighten your zip tie. You want to make sure it can still move. But it has to be tight enough so it doesn't get past that other groove. And that seems about good. And cut the excess off. Now we're going to apply some anti-seize to the threads. And we're going to spin our jam nut on. I counted 20 turns out, which is why I'm going to go all the way to the top. That was a lot of turns. Now I'm going to put on my locking sleeve. Let's apply some anti-seize. And let's spin our outer tie rod on. I counted 20 turns. You counted however many you counted. And then you're going to turn it in as many turns as you counted. 19 and 20. Once you get to the amount of turns needed, you can go ahead and slide down that sleeve. And now we're going to turn our jam nut down. And I'm going to leave it like that until I attach my outer tie rod into the knuckle. Now we're going to put our tie rod into our knuckle and put our nut on. Let's snug this up. And now we're going to torque it to 38 foot-pounds. Now we're going to hold our inner tie rod with the 13 millimeters wrench, and we're going to tighten down our jam nut. You are going to see that sleeve push down, and that's going to help hold everything in place. Make sure it's snugged up really good. You don't want anything moving. You can try using a crow's foot to torque this. It's 33 foot-pounds if you do decide to do that. Otherwise, just give it a good tightening and it should be good to go. Put our wheel on. Make sure you line it up. Once you're lined up, you can get one of your lug nut studs started. You are going to have to keep a hand on it. And continue the way around. We're going to do it in a crisscross manner. Walk the wheel up. Make sure it's flush. We're going to torque our wheels to 95 foot-pounds. I'm using a 17 millimeter socket. We're going to do this in a crisscross pattern. Anytime you do any sort of suspension work or steering work, you do need to go and get an alignment afterwards, so take it down to your local shop and get that done.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.